could you also fertilise this, whatever crop was you said, with like these biodegradable plastics that you're creating, and therefore create a little system which is...
Yeah, it is entirely possible that could happen. I mean, if that were to happen, you would have a very sustainable system of product out and then product back in, product back out, product back in, and it would just be a very good cycle, and it would be something that I think that could also be another route explored, which could be extremely beneficial.
But do you think that public awareness would be paramount? Because if people aren't recycling plastic, it's not going to happen.
I do think public awareness is something that needs to be brought in, because plastics that are currently being made and biodegradable plastics don't really work well together. If we were to mix up a biodegradable plastic and put it in recycling, it would contaminate all the other plastic in the recycling process, so that it just couldn't be used. So I think public awareness is something that we need to deal with as well. Toby.
I know that very, very, very recently there's been a few centres set up with really good inland algae farms, and I was just wondering how long do you think it might be until we're at that stage where algae farms produce ethanol and fuel and polymers that might be cheaper than fossil fuels?
I think we're not that far off, but I still think we do have a little bit of a way to go, because first of all, we definitely need government backing and government investment, and at the moment, the government's way of dealing with the environmental crisis hasn't been the best, that's just my personal opinion. But I definitely think we're coming close, because with rising oil prices and public panic over the world going to end soon because climate's going to change and with sea levels rising and all that sort of thing, I definitely think that it's coming to the point where such technologies are going to be accelerated to such a point that they become part of everyday life. Isaac.
So going back to the picture you started with right at the beginning, how optimistic are you that in the future that will start to go away?
I'm quite optimistic. I don't know whether it's because I'm just an optimistic person or that the evidence is there that we can start to change it, because public opinion is turning very much against landfill. I feel we have technology coming out that will enable us not to rely so much on landfills, and I just think the one good thing that has come out of global warming is that people are starting to change their attitudes towards the way we live and what we do with our waste and our energy, which I think could only be beneficial to get rid of such things as landfills.
We obviously have a really strong interest in the subject. Would you say yourself that you're quite an eco-friendly person and you can be very open if by a plastic treatment that you back it and be quite happy to use them yourself?
I would be happy to use them myself, as long as they had been proven and tested and all the other things, because as outlined by the problem with landfill is that it might not necessarily be the best thing to put them in landfill. So I think if we were to have a structure in place to deal with them and everyone was aware, I would be very much happy to use them.
Your previous diagram, which showed the algae farm there, had output going from the power plant into the algae farm. Are you actually suggesting that the algae farm is some form of carbon capture, or is it in fact the CO2 released during the biodegradation?
I think it could be very much used as a form of carbon capture, but that is one of the problems, is that when it's broken down, carbon dioxide is then used again. So it could provide a temporary carbon capture system, but I don't think that it would be effective enough to be something which we rely on to reduce carbon dioxide emissions. Yes, right at the back.
You say that the current chemistry is using oxygen as a catalyst for the degradation of plastic. Do you know if anybody's doing any work using methane, which is a byproduct of landfill, to catalyse this reaction?
There is something which I did look into called anaerobic digesters, and what they do is they take in the plastics and they break them down with bacteria where there is no oxygen under extreme circumstances, and methane is produced. Now, methane can't be used as a catalyst to start biodegradation. It's more of a product of biodegradation. But there are two other ways in which things can break down. There is hydrodegradation, in which water is part of the process to break them down, and there is also photodegradation, in which light is used to break them down. Now these aren't as prominent because the bacteria that need them aren't very populous in areas, well, not very populous at all. They're just kind of there, and if we were to concentrate them in factories or something, I think something like that could be achieved. Yes.
It's so exciting when you see things like this, and you think, you know, there's a massive future, and we're all going to be saved. With oil being such a huge commodity, do you think politics between different countries will always take advantage over this kind of technology? Are we not funding this enough because of relationships with other countries that have oil?
I would very much hope that wouldn't get in the way with it, but to be honest, it wouldn't surprise me, because as I think illustrated by this whole topic on convenience and something being cheap, is that everybody just wants something cheap, or they want to get money out of it. That does, I expect, does kind of deflate my lovely views of such technology. But I would hope that the politics of saving the world from climate change would overcome the politics of making money off oil.
Do you think that biodegradable plastics would be, like, as you say, if we were trying to get cheaper things, do you think they'll ever be cheaper than oil, like, because, not because oil has become more expensive, but simply because they are so abundant?
No, I don't think that could ever happen, because the thing with oil is it has so many applications. It can be used in energy, it can be used to produce plastics, it's used in cosmetics. Pretty much, well, not everything, but the vast majority of things rely on oil. Whereas with this kind of technology, it's very focused on one thing, and I don't think that these plastics could become much cheaper than oil-based plastics, but I don't ever think that this sort of thing as a whole would be cheaper than oil as a whole. Sam?
Do you think with sort of modern technology developments that eventually, sometime in the future, there can be the opportunity to have sort of these plants where you can get these, maybe have a pond or something in the back garden full of the nutrients needed and make your own fuel? Is there that possibility?
Yeah, I don't see why not. I mean, we have home brew kits to make our own alcohol, so why not have home brew ponds to make our own fuel? Yeah, I think that could be quite a good idea, actually.
People who make their own biodiesel get taxed on it, so you end up paying the same amount as you would for some petrol anyway.
I see, it's just politics again.
Should we make that our last question?